Let's talk about the film Companion. This is the latest film from Warner Brothers Productions, and it is directed by Drew Hancock. You also have Zach Cregger, Roy Lee producing this, which of course Zach Cregger is the director of Barbarian. Roy Lee was also a producer on Barbarian. Sophie Thatcher, Jack Quaid, Lucas Gage, Megan Suri, Javier Guillen, and Rupert Friend starring in this movie. This is one of those movies that I had been anticipating for some time. One of those releases in 2025 that I had been talking about extensively leading up to it. This film will be coming out this Friday, and I got the chance to watch it last night at the Alamo Drafthouse, which was great. In a very early-ish screening, you could say. Warner Brothers never hit me up for an early screening. That's okay. I'm still here. Y'all know how to contact me. But let's talk about this film, Companion, and everything about it. So first and foremost, if you have not seen any trailer for this movie and are just watching it based on vibes or that Sophie Thatcher, Jack Quaid, Lucas Gage, whoever's in this movie is starring in it, then just go see it like that. Don't watch the trailer, especially the second trailer. I think the second trailer gives a little bit too much away that by the time you're watching it, you're just waiting for that reveal and that twist or whatever, right? So let's get on with this movie and everything I thought about it and all that good stuff. As you know, I don't really give a score at the end. I'll tell you how I feel and if you should watch this movie or not, depending on things you like, but let's get into it. So this film follows a group of friends who go out to a cabin for a getaway, and then things start to sort of change. Things start to be kind of weird around certain characters, and we realize that there is more deceit here than we know, and things start to unravel slowly, and it goes into these very horrific satire, comedy, dark comedy vibes, and we just see that all hell breaks loose. Now, this movie, I will tell you, I think that this is Jack Quaid's best performance to date. I think Jack Quaid plays such an interesting character here who's able to go through so many emotions, so many switches, and the 180 he pulls throughout the film, just really great, honestly. Like, I really do think Jack Quaid is one of those actors working today that is just so on top of their game. Sophie Thatcher as well, alongside Jack Quaid, plays this character of Iris in such a interesting manner as well. This character is really going through a transformation as well, and the way that she's able to transcend into the character she finally ends up becoming as well is great to see. Really subtle performance from her. It doesn't try to be too extravagant or anything like that. It's just seamless and it just blends in so well with everything going on. The rest of the cast here also are great, especially Harvey Guillen. I think Harvey Guillen is one of the funniest actors today. If you have not seen What We Do in the Shadows, really implore you to go watch that. It is one of the funniest things that's been out in the last couple of years. I think Lucas Gage as well here really works so well. Like, Lucas Gage really becoming like a scream king, right? We see him in a ton of different horror films. Now, I have not seen Megan Suri's latest film, It Lives Inside. I've heard her performance in that is great, and she was good in this as well. One of the things I want to quickly to address here is I think that the film kind of feels like it needs to hold our hand sometimes. And I'm all for a film trying to sort of establish ground rules and things like that, right? Like, that's cool, but it sort of gets a bit distracting when every so often it has to come in and be like, oh, but remember this thing, right, about all of this, right? And remember, we established this in the previous scenes and all of that. Like, that's cool. Like, you want to make sure the audience is following along, but I feel like it's just holding my hand too much. And at times I'm like, yeah, I understood that already. You don't need to go back and address things like that. That's a problem with the script in itself, I think, for me, is that it kind of spends too much time trying to establish, do too much exposition on its end, and really try to set up this world for us when I think we kind of can understand it, and we don't need to understand every single detail, right? I think it can come to us later when we're thinking about the film. We're like, oh, they did say that earlier on, and that's why that happened as well towards the end of the film, right? I think that that's totally fine when a movie can do that. I don't think it needs to be like, wait, pause. Remember this. Oh, do you know this? That's my only problem with the film, which kind of made it drag at certain areas in the film, because it's more like we're listening or reading an instruction label of the film in itself, which I thought was just a little bit too redundant and kind of takes you away from the film. The film really does, however, pick up in its final act. I think that was one of the most insane final acts, honestly, I've seen in quite some time. It was well done. The way that the film's able to move from an action to a horror to a drama to romance and things like that throughout really was weaved together perfectly. And I think if they would have spent less time with the exposition dump dumps and trying to hold your hand and focus more on those aspects of it, I think this would have been a really, really solid movie, honestly. I do think it's worth seeing in theaters. It's really well received with a crowd. Everybody was laughing, and I think that that is the communicative experience of watching a movie in a theater. Now, do I think it's a perfect movie? Of course not. I think it does have some flaws here and there with the script and sort of some of the direction it decides to do. But at the end of the day, the great performances from everybody involved, is really young cast as well that is so talented, and a great concept as well, presented in a way that gives you still some good twists and turns, even if you've seen some of the trailers. But I tell you, do not watch any of those trailers. Just go into this one. It's a fun ride. It gets crazy. It's dark. It's comedic, and amazing performances from everybody. So I think that Companion, it's worth seeing, especially if you're a fan of Barbarian, if you're a fan of Sophie Thatcher, Jack Quaid, if you're a fan of like horror movies nowadays that really try to do something different and really keep like blending genres together and trying these like very wacky ideas out. It's worth seeing, honestly. I think anybody who just is a fan of horror films or just wants a good action thriller type film should watch this. It doesn't really get too, I would say, gory or scary like that. There's no like pop-up scares in here and there. It's more of a thriller than anything, but it does have some horror elements when it comes to some of the things that happen to certain characters, which kind of feel a little bit morbid, but it doesn't really like go into Saw level territory with all of that, right? I still think it's like more of a thrill aspect to it and just a dark comedy of sorts. So I really enjoyed Companion. I'll be talking more spoilers about it and everything that happens in it. So if you want to see that video, stay tuned. It should be probably coming out later tonight or tomorrow. Of course, we need that in an age with sequels, with remakes, with rehashes, whatever you want to call them, and just keep on regurgitating the same things. Companion does offer some slight sort of like new approaches to the genres, the blending of them, and also stories, and that's why I think it's so crucial. If you're looking for that, we support this very low budget film. I know low budget, $10 million is crazy, but that is low budget nowadays when movies go over $200 million, right? So I think it's worth seeing in theaters just for that. The great cast, the interesting story, the very funny moments and genre blending it has. It does have its missteps and its mishaps when it comes to the story and the way it's presenting itself and the way the movie flows and the pacing, just because of the exposition dumps and the hand holding, but it still comes off very strong and one of my favorite movies of the year so far. So I will be doing a ranking of January movies tomorrow. Stay tuned, and I'm excited to talk more movies with y'all in February. Let me know what was your favorite movie of January. No, should we count Companion as a January movie, or is it more February since it comes out on the 31st officially, right? So let me know what you think about that. But which movie did you enjoy the most? We'll have a wrap-up video about January tomorrow, so stay tuned. And as always, I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.